Winful Chronicles presents The Golden Scepter, stories that awaken faith
In the heart of the Persian Empire, behind gold-covered walls, beneath the silence of a royal throne, a death sentence had already been written.
An entire people had been marked for destruction, and the only person who could stop it was a woman who was never supposed to speak. A queen with a hidden identity, a palace filled with secrets, a wicked man hungry for power,
and one law that could not be broken. If she entered the king's court uninvited, she could die.
unless the king raised the Golden Scepter. This is the story of Esther, the woman who walked into fear and found mercy waiting at the throne.
Persia was the greatest empire of its time, vast, ruthless, untouchable. Its king Ahasuerus ruled over provinces stretching farther than most could imagine.
His word carried the force of law. His favor could lift a person in a moment, and his anger could destroy them just as quickly. In the royal city of Susa, the palace gleamed with gold, crimson, marble, and fear.
Every corridor held whispers. Every banquet carried politics. Every smile could hide a knife.
And in that palace sat a young queen named Esther,
chosen for her beauty, crowned for a purpose she did not yet fully understand.
Why me?
But Esther carried a secret that, if exposed at the wrong time, could place her life in danger. She was Jewish.
Then came the rise of a man named Haman.
Proud, ambitious, dangerous. He was elevated in the king's court above all other officials.
He craved honor. He demanded recognition. He expected every man to bow.
And most did. But one man refused. His name was Mordecai,
A Jew.
but one man refused.
I will not bow. You defy the king? I defy no man, only injustice.
A man of quiet conviction. A man who feared God more than he feared men. Mordecai would not bow to pride dressed as power.
If he could not control one faithful man, then he would destroy all of Mordecai's people.
Haman's hatred widened into something darker. If he could not control one faithful man, then he would destroy all of Mordecai's people.
Not just revenge, genocide. Haman moved carefully. He manipulated the king with half-truths and hidden poison. The edict is ready, my king. It will rid us of our enemies.
He spoke of a people who were different, a people who did not follow the king's laws. He disguised hatred as loyalty.
And the king, unaware of the full truth, gave Haman authority. The royal seal was pressed. A decree was written. A date was chosen. The royal seal was pressed. Messengers were sent across the empire. In every province, the order spread. The Jewish people were to be destroyed. Men, women, children. One empire, one law. One day of blood. The city of Susa fell into confusion. But outside the palace gate, one man tore his garments, put on
Sackcloth and ashes, and cried out with a grief too heavy for words. Mordecai knew what was coming.
When Esther heard of Mordecai's mourning, she was troubled.
Mordecai mourns, take him these garments.
She sent garments to him, but he refused them. I cannot accept these. This was not a moment for comfort.
This was a moment for awakening.
Through a trusted messenger, Mordecai revealed everything: the decree, the conspiracy, the approaching destruction. Then he gave Esther a command that would shake her soul.
No, this cannot be.
She had to go to the king. She had to plead for her people. But Esther knew what that meant.
There was only one punishment,
Death.
unless the king extended the Golden Scepter. She had to go to the king. She had to plead for her people. But Esther knew what that meant. There was a law in Persia no one could ignore. If anyone entered the king's inner court without being summoned, man or woman, servant or noble, even the queen, there was only one punishment,
Death.
unless the king extended the Golden Scepter.
You must go to him.
I will.
Esther had not been called to the king in 30 days. Silence can be terrifying in a palace.
She sent word back to Mordecai.
But Mordecai's answer would echo through history.
Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther was no longer standing between comfort and discomfort. She was standing between silence and obedience. Esther made her decision. Not with arrogance, not with confidence in herself, but with surrender.
She sent back these words. Go, gather all the Jews and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day.
I and my attendants will fast as you do. And then I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish.
For 3 days, Esther fasted. No feast, no luxury, no distraction. The queen laid aside royal comfort and entered sacred dependence.
In the silence of her chamber, with candlelight flickering against stone walls, Esther wrestled with fear.
She was not fearless. She was human. Her heart pounded. Her future was uncertain. Her life hung on a single moment.
But somewhere between fasting and surrender, fear began to lose its grip.
But heaven was moving, because sometimes before God changes the world around you, He strengthens the spirit within you.
Then came the day. Esther put on her royal robes, not because she felt fearless, but because courage often dresses itself while trembling.
For such a time as this,
But beneath the beauty was trembling. She stepped into the palace corridor.
The walls were silent. The air was heavy. Guards stood like stone. Each step echoed.
High on his throne, surrounded by power, the law at his fingertips, Esther crossed the threshold.
Each breath felt louder than the last. Before her stood the entrance to the inner court. Beyond it sat the king. She entered uninvited.
the guards noticed. The court stilled.
The room itself seemed to hold its breath.
Esther stood there, vulnerable, exposed, waiting. And the king looked.
The silence was unbearable. Then, the king was pleased with Esther. The law was clear. She could die. Unless the king extended of mercy, the sign that death would not have the final word. He lifted the golden scepter.
Slowly, deliberately, and stretched it out toward her.
Esther stepped forward and touched the tip of the scepter. She was alive. She was accepted.
That scepter meant mercy. Said would destroy her. Became the place where favor opened. Courage had brought her to the throne, but wisdom would guide her next steps.
But Esther did not rush. She moved with wisdom.
I invite the king and Haman to a banquet. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet.
We will attend.
There, in a room filled with silver cups, gold vessels, and royal delicacies, Esther watched.
Haman was still confident, still arrogant, still blind to the fact that heaven was already overturning his plans.
Because not every victory comes by force. Some victories come through timing. Some battles are won when patience lets truth ripen in the right room. The king asked again what she wanted. Esther, what is your petition?
Come to the banquet I will prepare tomorrow.
But Esther invited them to a second banquet. Why wait? Because not every victory comes by force. Some victories come through timing. Some battles are won when patience lets truth ripen in the right room. At night, the king could not sleep. Sire, the omens are troubling. The stars foretell a great peril.
In a palace built on control, one restless night became the beginning of reversal. He ordered the royal records to be read. As you command, my lord, what secrets lie within?
And there, in the pages of forgotten moments, he discovered something. Mordecai had once saved the king's life, but he had never been rewarded. Haman moved carefully. He manipulated the king with half-truths and hidden poison. Yet before Haman could speak, the king asked him, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Haman, blinded by pride, assumed the honor was for himself.
Royal robes of purple and gold, a royal horse, and a public celebration. He described royal robes, a royal horse, and a public celebration.
Then came the humiliation he never expected. Do that for Mordecai. The man he hated was the man he had to honor. Heaven had begun to turn the story.
At the second banquet, the atmosphere changed. The king looked at Esther again and asked, "What is your petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you."
This was the moment, the silence before truth. The queen inhaled. Her voice was steady, but weighted with urgency.
If I have found favor in your sight, O king, Let my life be granted me for my wish, and my people for my request.
The king froze. Her people? Her life? Esther continued.
My people and I have been sold to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated.
Shock thundered through the room. The king rose in fury.
Who is he? And where is he who has dared to do this? Then Esther spoke the words that shattered the illusion.
A foe and enemy, this wicked Haman.
The room turned. What is this treachery? My king, no!
Esther continued, "For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated."
Who dares this? No, my king!
And the trap Haman had prepared for Mordecai became the place of his own downfall. What he built for the righteous, he fell into himself.
The decree of death could not simply be erased under Persian law. But another decree was issued. This new decree grants life where death was written.
And this time, the king gave authority to Esther and Mordecai. A new order spread across the empire.
This time, the Jews were given the right to defend themselves. What the enemy meant for destruction,
Mourning turned to celebration. Fear turned to victory. Mordecai was elevated in the king's court. Esther's hidden identity was no longer a source of danger. It had become part of the very story God used to save a nation.
The woman who once trembled in silence had become the voice of rescue. The queen who risked death became the vessel of deliverance.
The Golden Scepter was more than a royal object. It was a sign that mercy can meet you in the place where fear expected death.
Esther did not walk into the throne room because she felt ready. She walked in because obedience mattered more than comfort.
She walked in because faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is moving while fear is still present. And maybe today,
You are standing before your own forbidden door. Maybe you have been called to step into something terrifying. A decision, a calling, a confrontation, a purpose you never asked for.
but if God has placed you where you are, then your position is not accidental. Like Esther, you may have been brought here for such a time as this.
The same God who went before Esther in the palace still goes before his people now. And when God ordains mercy,
No enemy can stop the hand that raises the scepter. Walk in faith, stand in courage, trust his timing.
Because sometimes the miracle is waiting in the room you were afraid to enter.
A Winful Chronicles production. The Golden Scepter. Stories that awaken faith. For such a time as this.